My baby dances like no one is watching, throws her head back and puts her hands up in front of her, kicks her legs up, stomps her feet, and lets go of all her inhibitions. To the wind she throws them. When my baby moves, time bends to her will. It follows her twirl and gathers itself in the wind she creates when her hips swirl. Black baby dance, black baby smile. Seeing black baby joy forces you to realize how blessed you are beyond measure. My beautiful brown baby, you are a treasure. My little mama hugs my neck and says I'm amazing, and calms me with her laughter. Her giggles gallop around my mind, steadying my pulse when my heart starts racing. She be breathtaking. Black babies are a blessing in this world that tells them they are lesser than. I remind her to never let their projections seep in. If they could, they would climb into your skin. Claim your effortlessness. They would frolic in the energy your ancestry adorned you with. In a world that would dare say, she is not amazing, I tell my queen to just keep dancing. Prance on these white nationalists, dog whistle racism and the politics. Juke all over this administration through your gyrating. Let them know the revolution is coming. Just be patient. Shake the pale hands off your locks that sweep over your back. Show them why a black baby that loves themselves is the biggest threat. Show them why you love being black. My caramel mocha child, the Orishas move through you. They tell the story of our origins, how we got over and made it through. My girl, you make your forefathers proud. There is no higher honor than raising you. I knew I was a god when I delivered you from my womb. You are the truth and the proof that I can do all things through black that strengthens me. Now dance, you brilliant, bright black star. Dance, baby, for me. My baby dances like no one is watching, throws her head back and puts her hands up in front of her, kicks her legs up, stomps her feet, and lets go of all her inhibitions. To the wind she throws them. When my baby moves, time bends to her will. It follows her twirl and gathers itself in the wind she creates when her hips swirl. Black baby dance, black baby smile. Seeing black baby joy forces you to realize how blessed you are beyond measure. My beautiful brown baby, you are a treasure. My little mama hugs my neck and says I'm amazing, and calms me with her laughter. Her giggles gallop around my mind, steadying my pulse when my heart starts racing. She be breathtaking. Black babies are a blessing in this world that tells them they are lesser than. I remind her to never let their projections seep in. If they could, they would climb into your skin. Claim your effortlessness. They would frolic in the energy your ancestry adorned you with. In a world that would dare say, she is not amazing, I tell my queen to just keep dancing. Prance on these white nationalists, dog whistle racism and the politics. Juke all over this administration through your gyrating. Let them know the revolution is coming. Just be patient. Shake the pale hands off your locks that sweep over your back. Show them why a black baby that loves themselves is the biggest threat. Show them why you love being black. My caramel mocha child, the Orishas move through you. They tell the story of our origins, how we got over and made it through. My girl, you make your forefathers proud. There is no higher honor than raising you. I knew I was a god when I delivered you from my womb. You are the truth and the proof that I can do all things through black that strengthens me. Now dance, you brilliant, bright black star. Dance, baby, for me.
Okay, welcome everyone. It's really nice to be here with you tonight. Good evening. Welcome to the Perez Art Museum, Miami. Like I said, I'm so grateful for all of you joining us here in person and also for everyone that's joining us on YouTube. My name is Marie Vickles. I'm the Director of Education, and as an educator at a 21st Century Museum, it is my pleasure to share this space that is dedicated to representing the people and communities of South Florida. Here at the Perez Art Museum, Miami, we strive to be a leader in the presentation, study, interpretation, and care of international, modern, and contemporary art, while representing and cherishing the unique diversity of Miami-Dade. Through our exhibitions and programs, we aim to encourage everyone to see art as an incentive for genuine human interaction. I'm so excited to welcome this stellar group of poets as they present tonight's program, Coming Up from the Blood. In their own words, Coming Up from the Blood is an occasion of language, allowing the surreal to manifest in space and place, as they present work inspired by our current exhibition, Artist as Poet. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge and thank the incredible team of people that work so very hard to make these programs come together. Many thanks to Anita Bram, Associate Director of Adult Programs and Audience Engagement, and our world-class AV team, Denise Faxis and Andrew Bird. We couldn't do this without you. Also, big thank yous to all the folks working on our visitor services, security, maintenance, and administrative teams. It definitely takes a village to get this work done. and we couldn't have done this without you as well. Thank you. Yeah, clap it up, clap it up. And remember, if you also value this program and other programs that we present in the museum, please consider supporting us by going to pam.org/donate, or better yet, ask about becoming a member at the front desk. Okay, on to the program. I would like to introduce Ersimer McCoy as our guiding light for this evening's program that she has so thoughtfully curated. Arsimer is an educator, cultural worker, performance, and collaborative artist from Richmond Heights, Florida. Arsimer's work echoes conversations about identity, self-reflection, human interaction, legacy, and grace. Her writings also delve into her experiences of growing up in Miami, often exploring its nuances through storytelling. She currently works as the interim director of operations for Bookleggers, a nonprofit mobile library that expands access to free books as a way of community building. She was also a part of the summer cohort artist residency at Bakehouse Art Complex, the recipient of the 2021 Miami Foundation Racial Equity Grant, and Locust Project's 2021 Wave Maker Grant recipient. When Arsimer is not writing, she is working on her passion project of turning her home into a museum and exhibition space, and mothering her 11-year-old daughter, who dances like fire. So, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Arsimer McCoy.
Thank you so much, Marie. Thank you so much to Anita and to the PAM staff. I am so appreciative to be here. Ooh, I'm having a little moment. Wait a minute. Y'all don't understand. My mama still don't know what I do. She don't know what I do. She just see me leaving all the time and don't know where I'm going. So the fact that she's like, oh, you're here. Yeah, I'm here, Ma. I'm here. So it's very exciting. So let's get started, yeah? Yeah? Coming up from the blood. Inspired by the combinatory nature of André Breton's poème-objet, coming up from the blood is an occasion of language, allowing the surreal to manifest in space and place, just as text and object excite each other in the exhibit. The poet presents the self as art, engaging in an intimate act of translation. In a classic call and response, each artist journeys through emotional, spiritual, and physical dialogues between themselves and the artwork, bringing forth language true to land, lineage, and liberation. These artists that I have the honor of bringing to you tonight respond to the fictive dreamscape of the Artist as Poet exhibition by embracing the conjure in creation, the multidisciplinarity of reality, and the serendipity of the surreal. Each poem is complete through its delivery and engagement, presenting the poem as an event or series of events, making up coming from the blood. Our first piece, Kentura Davis. Kentura Davis creates cool, intimate portraits that combine elements of design, photography, and language. Davis merges an exploration of Black identity with the use of the written word as a pictorial element, delving deeply into the relationship between identity formation and language. Each portrait is created with an etching technique that combines lettering and drawing. Her works begin with a photo of someone she knows, which is then converted into a black and white image. Black, as the most exquisite color, consists of a blurred image of a woman in the black, white, and gray tones that characterize Davis's work. At a distance, the viewer recognizes an image of a Black woman with a stern, powerful gaze. Her hands rest self-assuredly on her waist. Upon closer inspection, the phrase, Black as the most exquisite color, becomes readable to the viewer. With that being said, in response to this piece is poet Sierra Janae Hendricks, Fort Lauderdale native and freelance journalist. She earned her BS in Integrative Health in 2012 by Stetson University in Deland. Her writing artistry focuses on using nature and its elements to translate the things we are often too afraid to say. Her poetry relies on sensuality, in engaging multiple senses at once to transport the reader betwixt memories and worlds. Sierra is of the mind that stillness and shadow work, although complex, are the keys to conjuring and cultivating sustainable joy. I would like to invite up our trio to perform alongside Sierra Janae's work, responding to Sister Kentura Davis.
When my nights were dark and wrought with horror, I tried to kill myself softly to avoid a litany of language building up inside. I searched deep inside myself for the perfect allegorical, alphabetical arrangement to bring this work to life, to give birth to prose. Intrigued by the fire and its chaotic, unrelenting gaze, I entered the inferno and allowed my spirit to be baptized in flames. The shadow guardian says, "My darling, you are the mountain, and this vessel is your home. It is time to honor and heal all of your darkest selves so they may cease to roam. Taste the clay in their cries, imbibe in the grays of their gloomy sky. Though the forest ahead is tempestuous and the linings of your heart are overrun, know that from base to peak, you are favored and protected by the sun. You must sow yourself with the faith of a mustard seed and heed the guidance of those who seek to unlock doors where your name would proceed. You must follow the path that leads you to windows and mirrors that become portals. Immerse yourself into Lilith's den of witches, thieves, and gluttonous and greedy undead immortals, and dare to emerge notorious. Black is the most consummate color. Black becomes gold when dipped in the light of the sun. Black is so black, sometimes it strikes you blue. It's the blues in Harlem, the hues of Langston's language in my throat, the essence of a renaissance of hope. Kinks, coils, and curls that extend out like bright beams of light, ready to take flight and defy gravity. The herald of joy. Blackness as the bridge to paradise. Black as the frequency of culture. Black as the pulse of the world. Mountains and valleys woven into this melanin, this shea butter covered skin. The greatest truth is that a black hole is everything a star longs to be. And it's every shade of black always being the most exquisite color for me. Thank you.
Y'all give it up one more time for Sister Sierra. Purvis Young. Over a span of nearly 5 decades, self-taught Liberty City-born artist Purvis Young created thousands of paintings on found plywood, discarded cloth, cast-off furniture, and other debris, hanging them on walls of boarded-up buildings along Northwest 14th Street and 2nd Avenue in Miami's Overtown neighborhood, a stretch known as Bread Alley. Untitled is made from a found hardcover book, which Young filled with the symbols and imagery he came to be recognized for. Young's images add up to an epic, fantastical representation of the history of Overtown, from the demolition of Black-owned homes and businesses for the sake of a highway constructed in the mid-1960s to the riots following the acquittal of 4 police officers in the death of Arthur McDuffie in 1980. Responding to Purvis Young's work is playwright, director, and educator Darius Daughtry. Oh, okay, he got fans. Go ahead. I ain't even let me finish. Darius, okay. He is the founder and artistic director of Art Prevails Project, a performing and literary arts organization cultivating community and creating equitable access to the arts through performance arts education and community engagement. He has been commissioned to write, perform, and conduct workshops for various organizations such as the U.S. Naval Academy, the University of Florida, the Poetry Foundation, Broward Center for Performing Arts, okay, Darius, the Adrian R. Center, Broward and Miami-Dade schools, and various municipalities throughout South Florida. He is the author of a poetry collection, And the Walls Came Tumbling. Without further ado, please welcome Darius V. Daughtry.
Ain't no fun when the rabbit got the gun, said Daddy. Sadly, Pops was ghost, phantom, anthem, song, flung towards the firmament, firm or bent. Which way do you walk towards the sunset? Backwards, on your hands. You ever sleep standing up or snore in the middle of a soliloquy? The middle be too crowded for the introvert. Comfort on the edges, outskirt, outwork the rest reeks of rugged individualism and drips of trickle down. Fickle clowns get the last laugh, but the last calf to the slaughter be the farmer's daughter's dreams. But in order to create the new, you have to destroy the previous. So maybe that dream will manifest in reincarnation, and I become my daddy's mistress. Which dress should I wear to the rendezvous? The blue? Or maybe the glued together pages of our life story? Check your news, your Instagram feed is a loosely woven allegory of a brush trying to find its way through the thicket of your crown. Your edges, kitchen, second guessing and first lynching. You ever find a poem in a juxtaposition of your oat milk and plastic spoon? Sometimes Your muse will use you to amuse Zeus or Hades. Hey, these poets, watch me pull their strings, marionette them, him or her into metaphor, a simile, quip, erato, and calliope, then quietly, inspiration taps a synapse, and eureka, you reach a euphoric state, begin to debate Biggie and Tupac with the 5G tower on your block. Hail Mary. It was all a dream, or a Rorschach test with your eyes closed. Ink blots. You think bots get sad when they don't get enough likes? Or is the algorithm too advanced to lament? This is not a poem. It's a triptych on a slip disc of a Stevie Wonder song being played backwards. It's a stimulus check bouncing, backflipping on the country's conscience. It's a question. Do you ever have no words? Like they get stuck somewhere between cerebellum and glottal, caught in mid-sentence. No parole for this prison, no control of this prism, lights beaming, seeming to originate from the ether. Either you breathe deeper or leave the oxygen to the plants. Pull up your pants and pull down your bootstraps. Loose straps, still get those with untied shoelaces. Screwed faces sound like poets writing, reciting in limbo, them old iambic pentameter, antebellum elegies. Moans mistaken for melodies. Metal keys jingling to a Bohemian Rhapsody. Cool cats scatting, a cacophony in the middle of a catastrophe. All hope is abandoned. Life is a killer. Surreal spill, kill Bill Cosby's ghost and a part of me. Pardon me if this don't taste like the caviar you used to. You used to be human. Now you're just Android, iPhone, eyes on 5%. Can't see past your broken screen. The broken dream of that farmer's daughter has been gilded with gold. We golden. Holding a million words between pages. Lifetimes betwixt lines. Find the climax and the falling action. Put your ear to stone. Open your heart to sky. Why? Because even the sun goes down. Heroes eventually die. Your bed and couch have conspired to set fire to your tomorrow. So you might as well live today.
Y'all keep it going for Brother Darius. And please don't crucify me if I say this wrong, okay? I was practicing all evening. Ed Ruska. Okay, ain't nobody cussed, so I did it right. Having arrived in Los Angeles from Oklahoma City to study at Cal Arts, Ed Ruska worked as a designer while also maintaining his artistic practice. His graphic design background has influenced the way in which he incorporates text and language elements into his work, giving shape and form to letters through meticulously rendered drawings and paintings. Ruska creates nebulous landscapes in which words and phrases float like abstract poems. In Words Going Round number 7, the phrase, "words without thoughts, never to heaven go," is depicted in a circle in a luminous white pigment on a modulated blue background. Exemplary of his formal style, the cleanly rendered letters become smaller along the circle shape and are delicately smeared, suggesting a receding, spiraling motion. The phrase, a play on ideas of conceptual meaning, empty language, and the function of text, is a deadpan, self-reflective nod to the artist's own practice. Responding to the work is someone I am very excited to introduce to this stage. Poet Soraya Muhammad is a 17-year-old youth artist here in the city of Miami. She is and has been involved in many local, hold on, y'all, I'm sorry. Mom, Dad, y'all come to the front. Yeah, that's for y'all. Y'all give it up for my mama and daddy. That's my parents, yes. Even though y'all late. Come on, they came from down south, so I gotta give them some grace. So back to the beautiful Soraya Muhammad. Is a 17-year-old youth artist in the city of Miami. She is and has been involved in many local youth internships, such as Urgent Inc. FACE internship and the Florida Film House's summer film program. She is currently a part of Voices, Poetry for the People collective. I missed a few meetings, so I don't know if I could say anything right now about that. And the Arts for Learning summer internship as a creative writing intern. On a personal note, I was very honored when Soraya, sorry, bruh. When she came to me and asked me for mentorship because I had been following her work and learning from her for about 2 years since I met her at a Poetry for the People performance. She is dynamic, and we are very, very proud of you. And so without further ado, I give you all Soraya Muhammad.
Thank y'all so much. Y'all ready? Cool. So, I am not a political poet. I'm one of the romantics. My identity lies solely in what I can make beautiful, like how the light in my niece's eyes is the moon eclipsing the sun. I try not to think of how life might darken it, of how the world would fight to steal that light from her, and I'm still reconciling with the fact that I can't save her. So I look at my hands, the ones that are so like my mother's. In them I hold the book of me. Nowhere near full or bursting, but still burned and tampered with. Some of it I did myself. I want to write that I tried my best, that I pushed through and came out triumphant in the end. Ray, the black queer romantic who loved and hated everyone, as if that is all that I am. And I'm realizing that I don't trust myself. And maybe the issue is that I don't feel loved or appreciated. Maybe the issue is all the world's trauma that lies in my bones. Naturally, the romantic in me wants to tie my trauma in a pretty red bow and hand it to you. Say yes, look at how real I am. Look at how sad my life has been. Yes, pity me, yes, love me, so young, so much light, such a bright smile, mature. Look at how she carries the world on her shoulders. What y'all don't know is that my knees will buckle and give out before I complain about the weight. And isn't that what it is to be an artist that loves her family? Silently love them in the corner, too cowardly to take action, but love them in the writing, wishing, hoping, praying to be able to save them all. I am learning that they don't need me, that my silent prayers won't help them, so I step back and watch, make a romance out of my own life. But even as my future is finally coming together, I am still hell-bent on destruction. Because I know just how good I've got it. I can afford to be destructive, to plunge myself into darkness, call it my lover, and leave them just as fast. Befriend the light and let every hour be golden and mine. The sun as it sets fills me with envy and the desire to burn. So I leave my friends up in smoke, my life ash on my tongue.
Y'all keep it going for Soraya Muhammad. See what I mean? Talking about learning from me, girl. I'm trying to learn from you. So very proud. We are actually going to move forward in the slide to Jean Gierno's work. I apologize to my tech team. Thank you. Since the 1960s, Jean Gierno embodied efforts to instill contemporary poetry with the conceptual underpinnings of recent art. His production encompasses radical experiments with poetic appropriation, including poems made up of text drawn entirely from newspapers and other forms of mass-produced print media. His work is also closely associated with performance poetry in the form of happenings, film and audio recordings, and various unconventional means of delivery, such as the 1968 Dial-A-Poem project. Poem prints, in which sharp bursts of language rendered in vigorous typeface are set against fields of bold color. The works convey an almost audible sense of energy and agitation, reflecting the manic tendencies of graphic design for commercial mass media. It is a very big honor to introduce the next performing poet, Art Love Trap. Y'all go ahead, y'all know. Art Love Trap is a mixed media artist, musician, songwriter, and poet of Haitian and Jamaican descent, living in Miami, Florida. His poetry, songwriting style, is reflective moments throughout his life and career. His focus, as of late, has been geared towards cultivating and fluidly practicing his art, which began as a routine reflection for him in 2016. Art Love Trap draws a majority of his art inspiration from Jacob Lawrence and Bisa Butler by utilizing textiles, acrylic paint, wood, and even steel to create large-scale images. It is without further ado that I introduce to you all, in response to Jean Gierno's work, Art Love Trap.
I didn't know it was this many people here, man. I ain't know. Do we do the mask or no mask when I do it? I can do it. Because I have a beard. How y'all doing tonight? Y'all good? Miss Arshima McCoy, thank you so much for the opportunity. And this band is crazy. Oh, so I knew something was happening. Okay. All right, I'm going to jump into this. The piece is called It's Worse Than I Thought. It's worse than I thought. Africa's just not that close. Neither is a peace of mind. The northern lights spell freedom from time to time. Maybe that was reverse gentrification. Maybe nicknames like Porch Monkey and Jigaboo was the equivalents to raising property taxes in the hood. I mean, my hood. At least they could gather at the church still, and to think, to be governed by people that don't look like you was God's will. Now may we all bow our heads, maybe even kneel. I feel dizzy. There's been a twisting of his words. Submission to the almighty dollar. Cherish your 401k, Social Security, and your 64 Impala. That generational trauma, they've laid it on quite thick. Like castor oil on a free-form lock, like a lie on a tongue, like expectations on a clock. These daughters were not loved hard enough, and I don't know where to start when speaking on the sons. Bred young to fight my own people and love the foreign kind. Chitlins and pork rinds, filet mignon and caviar, the finest pastas through on and out the land. When and where did we veer from the plan? Raising hours, the sun was out, those blazing hours. Was it the war? Was it the riots? Was it the stolen fathers of placentas and fetuses? This is what bad genius is. My cup is full of grief and my pot is full of grease. I's reckon I's got something to look forward to. What should I apply this caliber of heat? I'll make a list. Fear, fear, that'll fry real good. It's hot already. Make sure your hand is steady while handling that colorism. I heard the dye ain't nothing nice. It could stain a black sheet of paper. We should fry those archaic judicial system that pipelines and bottlenecks our youth into crime effortlessly. The ingredient to our demise go together so effortlessly. I want a new diet, 'cause this one's worse than I thought.
Y'all keep clapping as I come down the stairs. In this dress I got at Ross. Yes. That's right. There was a color spectrum. I'm the only one wearing the wrong color. That's all right. Y'all give it up again for Brother Art, Love, Trap. Give me 1 second, please. This is why we have all gone digital. Don't nobody use papers no more. So if we can go back to the square root minus 1. Yes. So Joseph Kasuth. I had an entire bio for him. However, I have lost it. And it's funny because it's the piece I responded to. So as you can see, this brother uses mathematical equations to mess you up, okay? You're thinking you see something, but it's something else in there. And so, if you look very closely in the lines, there says inside, mistaking a connection for a real one. Ideal connection for a real one. Mistaking an ideal connection for a real one. And thus, that spawned my response to this piece. Romancing delusions of grandeur. Act 2, Scene 2. It makes me very sad to know that I may still be in love with you tomorrow. I'm in love past reasoning. I'm in love all the way. The kind of love that sees blood and calls it sacrifice. I trouble myself with reveries of you mouthing, I need you. Words you'll never say past a secret's volume. A stupid curl gathers at the end of my lips. I close my eyes and I slide into a lie. I'm taken out of it. Remembering how you wrapped your ugly into my hair I laid across you for covering. You found it a nuisance. twisted it up into your fist and called it dead weight. Only necessary for guiding ghost planes into clouds pregnant with lightning. If I had just allowed you a landing strip for the things your father said after corner store runs for tiny wine and rock, maybe then I'd been loved like scripture with warning excluded. Or Psalms and Solomon's songs, loved like music from a small box with a trap dancer. Like cold bones walking into a sunbath. For the task of eating a mango, a love you could devour, leaving only the skin. I couldn't let you kill me, even when I tried. When dying seemed to be the only way you'd have me, I can't continue to give you my tomorrows. I need them to fall away into delusions that keep me safe and make you appear to be real. Thank you. So sad. Come on, Jack. Tell you something about Jack. Jack trying to get that work every time. Calling you every time. It's always happening for you. Next, responding once again to Purvis Young's work. Over the years, Purvis Young developed a highly recognizable lexicon of symbols and reoccurring forms. Figures with arms upraised in a gesture of protest, despair, or aspiration. Horses representing spiritual release and freedom. Trucks and trains like those that rumble through Overtown on their way to and from the port of Miami, symbolizing the elusive possibility of escape or of material assistance from the outside world. And the looming heads of angels which protect the once thriving neighborhood while serving as witnesses to the pain and struggle of those who live there. Responding to Purvis Young's work, Christelle Victoria Roach. Christelle is a writer born and raised here in Miami, Florida. She is an MFA candidate at the University of Miami studying poetry. She graduated from Emory University's class of 2019 with a Bachelor of Arts degree in creative writing and African American studies. She writes the blues of the Southern tropics. Yeah, I know, right? That's sexy. Christelle places her poetry in conversation with Black artists and scholars when she describes her writing as critically fabulous, wake work rooted in the demonic. I was like, girl, what? Okay, friend. I want you to do you. Christelle is a poet and playwright, but she sees research as comprehensive storytelling. Her work is forthcoming in Poetry Magazine and Obsidian, Literature and Arts in the African Diaspora. Her previously published writing appears with the Academy of American Poets, Scalawag Magazine, the Miami Rail, and Swin Magazine. I know. She looks forward to sharing her first book, Bluesing, with her community and beyond. I also would like to announce that she is the Academy of American Poets Award. She is the Academy of American Poets Award winner. So without further ado, I introduce y'all my sister, my friend, Christelle Victoria Roach.
Good evening. Thank you. My father always says, many hands make light work. He said this once while passing a book series around the dinner table, each of us holding the other's sequel. We had to encourage everyone to read the next book so that we could move on with our series. He said, the more hands that touch the book, the more holy. He said, the more hands that touch the book, the more holy. Like the Bibles we had in place of family members who passed before we got here. You could still see the cigarette ashes in the book of Job, the book every black man could relate to, having lost and found himself like a rite of passage. I like to think it's what my uncle read when disease ravaged his body and he couldn't fight back. It's the book where a man's whole life was scaled down to his lungs, his words. All he had was himself, his health, and even that was fading. But he had a body that passed itself on through generations, though losing all that belonged to him made it seem like he would fade into a memory of himself. Surely, he came from a lineage of people who survived, so that he could live and survive, so others could tell his story. Legend has it Job was blown apart by loss, but truth tells he was made new. There is so much more to the story than loss, and so much more to reading than the book itself. We grew up with the New Testament and scores of National Geographic magazines and a series of unfortunate events. Daddy said he was raising world travelers, though we didn't ride planes until our teens, and we got our passports in our 20s. My father taught us to travel through stories. I saw Harlem in the 30s and Zora Neale Hurston in the Cotton Club. I saw dance halls and plantation parties. I saw people doing ring shouts, and nobody could tell me that I hadn't seen maroon colonies, that I hadn't been to Jamaica, that I hadn't been to the Bahamas. It was my father who first told me about Overtown, where he was born, who first told me about the family that was so close. His cousins felt like siblings, where we learned about Overtown, where folks learned to swim by drowning, where boys breathed water before there was a black beach, where they raced shopping carts down the streets and hopped the fence to go swimming, where MLK had drinks in the same bars as Ali. As kids, Overtown and Liberty City babies aged through stories, earning new details with each year. Miss Martha had a daughter on that stuff, and all the ladies had at least one dead child, but they knew how to raise children. They got their first kisses in the shade of palm trees. Everyone could see, and they played pickup ball in the city, my city. At the park, the kids told stories and rhymes for sport. Everybody was a poet on the court. My daddy became a man when he started truth-telling. He realized that he survived urban removal, racism, eminent domain, and though they demolished and relocated his hood, they tried to give it back to him. My daddy is friends with ghosts. My daddy, he knows people who faded into legend. All his groomsmen are chapters I never got to read, but he says our loved ones are alive as long as we keep telling their stories. This is the man who called me while I was protesting in the streets and told me to leave. He didn't say please. He said 1980, 1992, and rattled off names: McDuffie, King, Martin, Brown. Each name a story I knew, each year a chapter. I knew what I had to do. I had to start writing. I know I had to start telling stories like my daddy did, like them kids in Liberty City. You see, black men age into stories. If they are lucky, they get a title. If they are loved, we listen. But how many boys fades like legends, whispers, whole books couched in a name, a hashtag. I'm so glad my father raised in me, nursed in me a love for reading, for seeing us, so I can tell our story. So when I see a closed book, I hear a city bursting with so much color, all they can do is call it black. I see a young Purvis carrying decades in different hues, little blue boys and red girls coming together to read the color purple. And I see Purvis coloring like a stenographer, trying to capture everything, trying to capture us living. What a tragedy to see past, present, and future like a never-ending story, constantly repeating. I don't blame him for sealing it, for keeping it in his archive, for presenting the story as sculpture, as a stop motion of decades we touch through witness. Here, a catalog of days, a tribe of children caught in different hues, immortal in the art of storytelling. Thank you.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Keep it going. Tell me your friend is tall without telling me your friend is tall. I'ma just. Okay, statuesque. All right. Y'all give it up one more time for Christelle Roach. Last, but of course not least, Maria Martinez Cañas. Did I say that right? Cañas. Okay. Cañas is a prominent Miami-based artist who has experimented with a wide variety of Black and white photo-based mediums and techniques. This Cuban-born, Puerto Rican-raised artist builds her work around experiences of cultural dislocation, focusing on issues of immigration, transculturalism, identity, and memory. Her photographic explorations reflect the numerous ways in which memories can become simultaneously compacted, confused, and decontextualized with the passage of time. Continuous Year was created as a template for her large-scale commission for Miami-Dade art in public places, installed in 1996 at the Miami International Airport. In 1986, she went to Spain on a Fulbright scholarship and became fascinated with an archive of maps and documents dealing with the Spanish arrival to the Americas. Responding to her work is me. I call this Miami's Atlas. I am asphalt and fire ants, sweet blood for mosquitoes, daughter of tobacco fields, grandchild of mustard greens, muscadines, fermented and turned into moonshine. I come from down south and up north. Find me latched to a gate trailing a vine of dewberries ripening for deep pies. I know the aroma of outside on black feet cutting through tall grass in Lauderdale, back when all this used to be woods. Ancient Negro proverb, mango juice stains on my collar from summers in old Orange Grove. I am just like my mother, coming and going. A soft song stays stuck in my throat like hymns floating over wooden pews in a collective utterance. I'm in the crux of my mother's elbow, forehead cradled between her armpit and chest, itchy rayon floral printed dress socks, sleeping to the sound of the murmuring of ceiling fans. I know tea green Japanese silk nightgown with a faux feather lining, cascaded across an orange shag rug, flashing lights, and the survivor of cocaine, Yahweh bin Yahweh, hurricane, voter fraud, redlining, yellow caution tape, bloodline. desire to be a cash king in the corner store. Find me making a bounty of $5. Here is where the block banter occurs amongst the men who can always find work but can't stay off the curb. After a bottle of wild Irish rose, expect the dialogue to turn into verbs and slurs. Conversations continue on into the dark where the street lights beam down like stars on parked cars. I am chaos in Liberty City, watching from across 54th Street as Norton Tire burns, juking in a post-apocalyptic movie on top of broken glass in front of Adam's grocery store, brown little baby of the city. I accept that nothing here was made for me. But don't nothing stand if I shrug. Call me Miami's Atlas. I want air that don't taste like gas. I want you to see me as God intended. I want to be vulnerable and not regret the fallout. I want the ancient cities preserved in gold. I want an apology that is just as loud as your disrespect. I want the cranes to disintegrate into salt so the kids can skate on 65th Street again. I am soft sun behind cerulean and lavender skies. I am the Gandhi dancer straightening the railroad tracks, taking a break to sip my limeade and bite my Johnny cake, sweat creating pools in the small of my back while shading my eyes, looking for home. Y'all making my stomach turn a little bit because I'm nervous. I want to say thank you to my arc. Oh, no, Lord. To my artist community, to the artists that's in the building tonight. Thank y'all. I would not be here had it not been for your love and support. So thank you. Thank you to the PAM staff. So now that I've gathered my damn self, I would like to invite back up the artists for a small talk back where you all can ask questions to the poets about their work and their responses to the pieces. And also, we will have, is our curator here tonight as well? And the curator is here tonight as well, who we would like to invite up to speak to. So give it up as they come back to the stage. Don't do that, you real petty, Eric. And please give it up for our musicians tonight. We have Jack on sax. We have Brother Brahm on drums. And Brother Bo on keys. And the beautiful Les Muse on violin. And where is my, come on, friend. With your bad self. You did that. This is our curator, y'all. That was not one. So, I'd like to first begin, of course, with our curator, Maritza. Tell us why it was so important for you to curate this exhibit and why you chose the artist that you did.
Well, thank you all. Thank you for being here. It makes me a little bit emotional to see this many people in one room. It's been a hot minute. I originally thought of this idea for the show a very long time ago when I was writing my master's thesis. So this is a sort of full circle moment for me to be able to have this exhibition up in my hometown, in my city's flagship museum. So excuse me if I get a little bit emotional.
Girl, I was crying.
Listen, I'm a crier
Get
too.
emotion.
I'm a crier too.
It's the
too.
space. It's the space.
So for me, this exhibition is incredibly important because it ties to what I spent so many years studying. It ties to a love that I have for poetry. It ties to a love that I have for the intersection of poetry and plastic arts. So the way that we can bring language as an entry point into a museum and use that as a catalyst for conversation is incredibly important. And I'll say this too, I mean, normally we put shows up out into the world and then we just allow them to exist. And we very, very rarely get to experience people reacting to them. Like this for me is an honor, honestly, that I get to witness other creatives, other people just responding to the show and knowing that it's making a difference is, it's an honor. That's how I'm gonna phrase it before I start like sapping and crying and turning into a mess. But that's really why I chose to do this show, because it shows that our permanent collection is strong enough to take on thematic shows like this, and it shows that it can bring together so many different people with different talents to have a conversation like this. So thank all of you, every single one of you. I can't thank you enough.
Thank you. I was incredibly honored to be asked to program this because if I were to, have stumbled upon the exhibition, my first question would have been, why isn't there something like that for this? Being that it is the artist as poet, I would immediately have been like, okay, I'm gonna see something. Pam has to do something. And so I'm grateful that you all acknowledge that, yes, there needs to be poets in the building, there needs to be writers in the building responding to the work. I can't stress enough that we are all muses to each other. And the division that I feel sometimes takes place between artists, it has to stop. Like, we have to create those collaborations and be intentional about collaborating with each other, right? Because I write because I saw a beautiful dancer, or I write a song because I heard a beautiful poem, or I paint a piece, because I read a poem. And so since we're all muses together, it only makes sense that we should create together. So thank you for calling on us to do that.
We're all storytellers.
Yes.
We're all storytellers.
So I want to ask you all, how did y'all feel about responding to the pieces, and the pieces that you did respond to, why? Anybody can go. Or do I got to pick you like in a class?
This one, okay, this is on. It was a really interesting process because I had to wrestle with whether or not what I was sharing was something that I was ready to share, because my poem in particular went through a lot of different drafts and different versions of it. And normally I'll get some inspiration and then the line is in my head bugging me all day, and it's like whether I ignore it or not, it's still there. So it's it kind of just comes out of me onto the page, and that's what I read. But I saw what I was looking at, and it's just like, nobody knew that I had experienced this. Nobody knew that this was something that was going on in my head. So I was like, I need to change this because this isn't something that I'm ready to talk about yet. So it was just kind of like this rebirth and dealing with insecurities, because if you guys don't know, I am the youngest over here. So I was dealing with a lot of feelings of inadequacy and whether or not I was good enough. And yeah, it's great to be here.
Sierra, look like you want to say something.
Okay. Good evening. I initially responded to a completely different piece. I think his name is Jonathan Pelfrey.
Girl, don't make me lie.
Sorry, I forget. I have a picture somewhere on my phone.
But it was Dante's Inferno piece.
Yeah, it was the triptych. And I came back here a few weeks ago, and imagine my surprise. When I walk in, my poem is done, and my piece is not there.
That is not my fault.
No, I wasn't upset at all, honestly. I was actually like, okay, another challenge, here we go.
So it was a challenge for me too, because we actually sent that piece to Italy for a show about honoring Dante. So, we had to accommodate that. We're happy that happened, but yes, and there was a challenge for me to fill that wall. So you and I
Everybody
both had
in the
a
group chat.
It was a huge, it was 3 pieces, literally, like,
It illustrated Dante's his Inferno, Paradise, and Purgatory, and initially my poem was going to be focusing on going through the phases of the Inferno, sending yourself, like descending into the underworld. I'm a big horror fan, and as Arsenal read in my bio, like shadow work is something that's really important to me. I'm not afraid to go to hell within myself, and I'm not afraid to keep going back. So that's what inspired my first piece. But when I saw Kintera Davis's work, just the title struck me because I was like, I know that's right. It is the most exquisite color. I think us all being up here together is magical. We're supposed to be here. We belong here. We should have been here a while ago.
amen to that. Where Franklin at? Franklin, you heard that? I was supposed to be here a long time ago. Go ahead, Sia.
But I just thought that the way that Kintera Davis compiles her work was really interesting to me. I've been thinking about playing with text and imagery with my work as well, so I was really inspired by it.
Brother Trap?
Check. Okay, cool. I've been wanting to test this mic for like 10 minutes. I got like, I looked at like a couple of pieces. There was like the Dante piece. So I was like, okay, I gotta have a religious element here. And then like the typography about it's worse than I thought, and the one about avocados, because I love avocados. And I figured I'd make a piece that kind of was like a triangle through those things. So I, in a sense, talked about all my traumas in a way of it being the ingredients to a diet. So I would talk about like what I battle with personally, what my body of people battle with personally, and I wanted to speak on it in a way where we need a better diet. So, yeah, thank you.
David. Brother Darius?
Yeah. So my piece, it was interesting. It was fun for me because it's not a typical piece that I write. So I wrote connected to the theme of the show, which is about surrealism. And so I play with a lot of ideas and images and these, non-conventional connections that were similar to a lot of the things that I witnessed in the entirety of the show. So, when Arsimer read what I was responding to, they put the Purvis Young piece, and I responded somewhat to that, but it was more so the entirety of the show. And throughout the piece, I made a lot of references. There were like Trap just mentioned, like the typography and these pieces that were that are up. Like they're kind of sprinkled throughout some of the poem. But I thought for me it was fun because I'm usually writing stuff that's like more realism and painting pictures and being direct and making shedding light and shining light on some things that we need to have real conversations about. And for me, I sprinkle some of that in there. Maybe nobody got it. maybe nobody got some of those things I put in there, and I'm cool with that. That's cool. If it was fun for me. I was able to hide these little Easter eggs in my poem, so that when I listen to it, I'm like, yo, that's dope. That's dope. That was cool.
Sister Christine. Oh.
Hello, everyone. When thinking about just the piece that I wrote, Legion is the title, or a poem for my father after Luther Vandross. I walked into this entire exhibit really just wondering, like, how does this work? And I'm someone who I'm kind of a historian as much as I'm a writer. So I do like to work with photographs. I do like learning about history. I think that when we look at spaces, I think about like everything that happened in this space, even as this space is existing today. And so I remember when I was coming to the exhibit and we were gonna walk around and look at all the art, I remember I was just like venting to my dad. And then I was like, Dad, like, what do I do? And then he was just like, oh, well, remember, many hands make light work. And it just kept ringing in my head like a bell, like those old computer monitors or whatever. As I'm walking through this exhibit and I'm like, wow, someone made this. Wow, like we learned so much about these artists who some were in the Twin Towers, some of them were from Miami, how the art itself has traveled. And even with the actual piece that I responded to by Purvis Young, this book, it's untitled, but exactly how we saw that piece, but that was up on the screen, I don't know, whatever, is how I saw it. Is I saw Purvis Young's book, this book filled with art and color, and it's like, I don't necessarily think it's a book where you flip through the pages. It's like an altered book. The book is like almost like sculpture, and I'm just like, wow, this is a Purvis who like lived in Miami. Like I'm thinking about his hands touching this book. I'm thinking about his hand, like his everyday going through these pages. Like it's just a very like visceral like idea. I was like, wow, this was in his hands. And then behind it was the other piece. I'm spacing on his name, but Michael
Richards.
Michael Richards' piece, and it's a hands, and it's like a dresser, and it has two brushes, except the bristles are like hands, and inside is his hair inside of it. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. Like thinking about how, as artists, our art will in many ways outlive us. That's what's happened to many of like amazing artists that we know all across the board, is like art lives on. But the idea that like the touch is there, rooted in, that's what I mean by the demonic, but not necessarily like a spiritual demonic, but the idea that it's like lived in space, it's touched. So I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about like there's so much between these two pieces. And I was just like thinking about my dad, I'm thinking about my family, I'm thinking about growing up in my family. They love telling stories. Like we'll tell the same story every single Sunday. It's just like tradition. And then it just made me think about how we age into stories, and specifically Black men, thinking about Purvis Young aging into a story himself. And so that was something that was really important, because I didn't want to just like explain the artwork. I mean, I don't even think I could. But it was really important to, as an artist, be in conversation with these pieces. And so when this piece finally came, I definitely saw it as like entering a conversation that was already happening throughout the entire exhibit. So much lived in space. So, yeah.
She went to college. She had a lot of college. I could tell, friend. I just went to one college, just one. Where you at? 3? You was at 3 colleges. You had a lunch pass? No, you didn't. Not even. We have very similar stories. You know, our connectivity is because we both come from those type of families, storytellers. You know, my Uncle Alex, God rest his soul, was the storyteller in our family. And also like the recipe chef. So that's why Trap's poem, you know, was so beautiful to me, because he would explain things via cooking and recipes. That's how he would tell his stories, while making food and also telling you about yourself. Like, you see how these yams? Can't use yams like that. See, sometimes people is like yams that you can't use. Be like, okay, what we gonna eat? You're talking a lot over the food. I also just want to ask you all, how did it feel, because you touched on it a little bit, being included in the conversation, right? as a writer, we aren't always included in artists' look, Sierra, don't do it, okay? I know you're willing to go to hell. We don't want to go to hell today, okay? My friend is about to pull it, helleth. But to be included, into the conversation, to finally, look at work that reflects your work, to say, there I am, in this conversation, in this space. How did that make you guys feel? You was the one ready.
I feel honored to be here, first of all. I am a first-timer. I'm a newcomer into the performing sphere as an artist. I feel like as writers, because we're on the fringe, we get left out of the conversation when the label of artist comes about. But it's like someone had to type up the program you're reading tonight. Someone had to type up the descriptions on all the artwork in the gallery. Somebody wrote your textbook. Somebody had to write the software for you to use your phone and your GPS to get here. So I feel like I'm tired of us being left out. So it was a beautiful thing for us to be the center and to be moved to the front and to translate the language of the artwork and to tell more stories for the artists that are here, that aren't with us. It was a harrowing experience. I had to really sit with myself and ask myself how honest I wanted to be in my work. I typically don't write poems that rhyme or anything like that. I tend to kind of just write prose. So this was a challenge for me as well. But I'm stepping into a new phase of my life, so I wanted to kind of like kick that off with something I've never done before.
And you did that.
I did that. You did. And it felt good. And all of your friends who are writers are artists too.
Yeah. I want to say, and I'm going to go back to y'all, I was honored to be a part of Giovanna Gonzalez's work that she showed at Soundscape Park. And her calling on me as a poet to be in this film and to say my piece and to help it to utilize it as a building block to her overall narrative. That was like the first actualization to me of my validation as a writer in this place. She's actually here tonight. Over here, I'm going to embarrass you, yes. The famous Giovanna Gonzalez. I did that with her. But I remember when we were filming, up until we were filming, it was like, okay, I'm writing a poem for a film, like, okay, but actually being included in the entire process and then seeing it and being like, no, this is emerging. This is where you don't know where one thing ends and the next thing begins. That's how it's supposed to be. Like, I'm not supposed to make the differentiation between one thing and another. This in itself, in its entirety, is the art. And so coming then to the Artist as Poet exhibition, and honestly, listening to you, you are a passionate curator. Like, you running around the exhibit being like,
she was so excited.
4 of these.
She was so excited.
She was so excited.
She was so excited. I was like, I love to see it.
It was the boxes. Who did the boxes?
I have a weird historical crush on Joseph Cornell.
Joseph Cornell's boxes.
I love Joseph Cornell. It's like weird. Thank you for noticing, I guess.
By the way, this is a man who lived in his basement his entire life at his mama's house.
At his mama's house.
I'm telling y'all what Maritz told me. The man was in the basement making boxes.
The boxes look good though.
They look very good. They're beautiful boxes.
Signs of emotional stability.
Yes,
really.
yes. Yeah. And you are in love with this man. And this is the plight of the woman, okay? This is our plight. This is why clap it up. It's our plight. We keep falling in love with people in basements. They don't never want to come out of the basement to marry us. Never want to come out. But it was your, honest to God, like, when you were like, there's only like a couple of these and we have them, you know, that's what makes you want to be invested in the work. When the curator is invested, when they're showing you and making and taking you on the journey, you know. I don't know. I think I want to date him too. Is he still alive?
Get in line.
In front of the basement? Girl, bye. We're just not going to. Would anybody else like to respond to that? Did we forget the question?
Y'all killing me, man. Like, I just been sitting here and listening to this.
Being included as a writer into this artist realm and being recognized. How do you feel?
I'm a visual artist myself, so like I make a lot of art in hopes to thought provoke myself and to be on the other end. And art is meant to be perceived. Like, art's supposed to be interpreted. Like, art should be received. And a lot of times we like feel a way about art and we gravitate towards art, but nobody hears about it. And in this scenario, this was like turned into something like intangibly intangible, you know, like you could touch it, opposed to like, oh, I thought that was cool. Oh, that connected. Okay, we're done here. Next gallery. And then with this, it's like, no, I'm going to reflect on this. I'm going to cross its DNA with my DNA. We're going to make this new creation out of it. So like, it's alchemy in a sense. It's really cool. I appreciate being a part of it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I think the interesting part for me was just the reciprocal kind of nature of the experience. So, you know, you go and you check out art, and then, you know, I teach poetry and things like that. So, like, you know, we do ekphrastic poetry, and it's like, all right, here's this thing. We're gonna write a poem that's informed by that, and then that just lives by itself. But I think what's interesting about this show is that the poetry already embedded in the pieces, like the pieces themselves were poetic, and then we had this ability to have a conversation with those poetic pieces, and then this right here being an extension of that conversation. And so now, like, you all are us viewing that exhibit, and so now it's your turn to do something, right? So now
we all finna write a poem right now. Everybody get some paper.
Nah, you right. So like,
that's not
right. So like, you all are, kind of get the baton, right? The baton is passed to you all from what you just experienced here, and that being an extension of what was curated, and then which was an extension of what was actually created, right? And then what they were inspired by, and so the idea that we kind of keep this cycle going, and that's what art is, able to do, just perpetuate this cycle and continue the movement and just a constant revolution. So, like for me, that like I was excited about being a part of something like that. Yeah.
So my entire journey, just like beginning as an artist, has already been like insane, because I've always had to be, not always been, but I've always had to be very independent. I've always had to look out for myself and keep myself together because of certain circumstances. And so as a writer, I lived in my head a lot. And I would always ask my mom, when am I gonna find people like me? When am I gonna have a seat at the table? When am I gonna find a group of poets that are like me? And it's just like, she's like, I don't know what to tell you, babe. And I'm just like, what do you mean? You're supposed to know. And so I just like spent my whole life looking for these people, trying to find them. And it was like, some people left and some people stayed, and sometimes it wasn't always the best for people to stay. So this entire experience was like, it was like, even just like at the beginning when I had a seat at the table. I was sitting here with people who had started on their work already, had been writing for years, had known who they were, and I was just now figuring it out. And so, it was welcoming and it was beautiful, and to be able to talk to other artists, even though they were older than me, they didn't treat me like I was inferior. Like, they had something to teach me. It was like they had as much to learn from me as I had from them. So it was just this back and forth, giving back and forth, and I never felt like I owed anyone anything for welcoming me, because they felt like I was just as able as they were. So it really helped me combat that inadequacy, because I've always wanted to share space with somebody, and was always willing to give and give and give, and these people were willing to give back, and so I'm thankful for them.
I believe it's the poet Mari Evans, and please correct me if I'm wrong, poets, but in a poem celebration, she says, "I'll bring my whole self, and you bring your whole self, and together it will be twice as much love and life and everything, and together it will be a celebration." Basically, I'm paraphrasing. But I think that's what it kind of felt like walking into the exhibit, and just like all of a sudden something like goes from being like 1D to like so many different dimensions. It's like you're zooming further and further into the piece itself. And I think the more that I learned, the more that I listened to the stories you were telling about these pieces, the more that I just saw. And it's something that I feel like we all can identify with, the feeling of walking into a room and feeling like either you have to represent because you're the only person who looks like you're the only one who speaks your language, you're the only one from a specific history or whatnot. And so I grew up in a lot of those spaces where I wouldn't always say that I was like necessarily extremely independent, but I did feel very isolated sometimes, because I was the poet in a room of musicians, or because I was a little black girl from the South in an art school downtown, or on the train going to school. And I started to feel weird about that when I was in high school. I felt really, like I said, isolated. And it was upon learning about like family history, learning that like we're like the descendants of like South Florida's Black pioneers, like the first settlers here, that I felt like a huge burst of belonging. And I started to understand what people say when they say, know the world that you carry within you. Or I just knew that I carried a multitude with roots in this soil in Miami. And so being here and being in this exhibit and being included in this conversation, if you will, I mean, I wasn't planning it, but of course there's a piece about Overtown, you know, when my whole book is about Overtown, my whole book is about Florida, Liberty City, Perrine, Richmond Heights, like covering all these places that we're from, you know, all these Black spaces. And so to walk into this exhibit and see this book filled with color from a man in Overtown, I kind of felt like that lived-in presence that I'm just like, oh, we're all here. So when I say like I felt like I was in a conversation, I was like, okay, between me and Purvis, like we've covered decades of presence that is now rooted in this place as much as we're rooted inside this city, in this space, as much as we created this city. And so it felt really like a sense of belonging walking into this surreal exhibit. It was a surreal experience to literally feel like the book was talking. And I was trying to listen and translate. But yeah, being included in this conversation, I felt really rooted, I guess I would say.
I know that, thank you. I know that we are probably a little coming to the time, yes, Sister Anita, because I see you looking real stern. Yes, so we would like to open it up to the audience. If you have any questions for the poets up here, to our curator. Yes, Brother Joe. Hi, Marleya. Hi. I love you.
Hello. So my question is, Carmel Cristal brought it up, right? Like we're all storytellers. So I'm just interested, like if each artist, if each poet can go through like, what story are you trying to tell, and why?
So I was actually going to say this before in answering like what it felt like to walk into the space, but I had to fight to be a writer when I knew that was who I was. So of course, Miami is very much visual arts design based. All you see is some people's visual arts or musicians. So I was at Miami Music Project playing the cello, and people would ask me, so what do you like to do? And I say, I'm a writer. I didn't say I was a cellist. I didn't say I wanted to be a cellist. I said I was a writer. I went to architecture camp for 2 summers, and when they asked me what I was, I said I was a writer. And so I feel like I'm with my work, I won't say that I'm fighting to be seen, but I feel like that's exactly what I'm doing, because to be real, they don't want to see me. They don't want to see me up there on the big screen, my big old face cheesing at y'all like this. You know what I mean? It's like, we absolutely do.
We want to see you. We see you.
I'm like, huh?
I don't know.
Are we looking at you right now?
It's a lot of people I do not want to see up there. You is not one of them.
it's it's been so hard trying to like be a writer and validate myself and saying that this is real. This is something you can be, and you don't have to be like a starving artist. I'm not about to be Percy Shelley with his dying wife at their house. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, my idea of what being a writer has changed drastically. I don't even like Percy Shelley. Like, it doesn't make me but like, I felt like I had to be everything other than what I was. I was black, and I was a writer, and I had a story to tell, and I was a Muslim, and my mom has stories, and my uncle has stories, and my father has stories, and people in my life have all these stories to tell, and they give them to me. And instead of appreciating those stories, I went to Percy Shelley and Homer and all these other people, because that's what everybody said the real poets were. These crusty-ass white men in here like, hey, I mean, I've got the British accent and everything. I perfected it all. I promise you. That's all I have to say.
Best Pam talk ever. We're going to get an award.
We are.
Miami of the Times. Ain't that the ones giving out awards for things? Go ahead. Anybody else? They're like,
I'll respond
follow
real
that.
quick. I'll respond really quickly. That says, for me, what stories am I trying to tell? Honestly, is the stories I want to tell, right? I think that's really what's at the core of it. The stories that I needed to hear or read when I was younger and I didn't. The stories that, I spent time as a public school educator, and so thinking about the stories that my students need to hear. Like, those are the stories that and they come in different forms, right? I think, some of them are celebration, some of them are accusation, some of them are holding feet to fire, but just whatever the hell I want to tell. That is it. Yeah.
I want to preface. Is that how you say preface? What I'm about to say with this. If you are watching what is happening to our Haitian brothers and sisters, and you are silent about it, you are complacent about it, you think it does not affect you, there is a problem. You do not need rhetoric. You don't need somebody with flowery language to explain it to you. Common sense ain't always common, but I use it. My mother and father have taught me that sometimes common sense is your best defense. And common sense tells you there ain't no way in hell what's happening to them should be happening.
Great.
Period. I say that because when I decided to respond to Maria's work, I wanted to tell the story of how we all are connected and our stories are not as different as we think they are. Maria's story, her travels, what she has been through, how she has felt being moved and replaced and disrespected and disenfranchised, is the same way that I have watched my communities being overrun, given less resources, gentrified to hell and back. And I ran away from writing to her piece because I felt like it wasn't exactly my story. There isn't exactly a connectivity because she's Hispanic and I'm Black, which is also another damn problem that we have here in the city of Miami. And the reason why we can't get nowhere, because we're not understanding that it is all propaganda and that there is money and fear. And so I wanted specifically to write my own story, and it mirrors hers almost completely. So the story I wanted to tell was that we all messed up out here. And the only way that we are going to be able to move forward and the only way that we are going to see progress is if we move as a unit.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to that because I think the practice of curating is storytelling in its own way too. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the show is incredibly personal to me because I studied this stuff for so long. And I wanted to put it out into the world. But when I initially pitched it, it was sort of like, you want to do a show about books? Like what? It didn't really sound as fun as what it turned out to be.
I mean, I work for a free library, and I find books are fun.
Books are fun.
They're so fun.
They really
Shout
are
out to Bookleggers Library and my boss, Nathaniel, that I'm temporarily mad at, but he buys me sandwiches, so I get over it. I love you, Nathaniel.
But books are fun, and for me, the exhibition was really a way to try and extend that conversation and show people that, this is a place for conversation, first and foremost, and institutions have to be a place for conversation. So ultimately, I'm born and raised here in Miami. My parents were from Nicaragua. They came here in the 80s, so the fact that I am a 30-year-old brown woman curating a show at an institution, that means that every single person here can do whatever the hell it is that they want to do. Period. So that show, for me, means that my story and what I've experienced and what I think is interesting to other people. So don't ever deny yourself the opportunity to express what you want to express. Because there are other people who are going to connect to your story. There are people who won't, but whatever, just forget about them. Just stick to the people who respond to your story. And you will find bonds, that you never even imagined. What we've gone through now, I feel like I know you guys in a different way, and I want you guys to come to every show I ever do and respond to every single show ever. Right?
Bet.
I heard that, right?
We hear.
That's the whole point.
We have
giving
portfolios ready to go.
It's giving contract.
But that's the point, that this is a place for conversation. It's a place for reaction. It's a place for everyone to do
I heard residency
what they
or
want to do.
Maria, listen, you can't play with us like that. We about to be asleep right up there in that top seat up there. No, she said we could stay.
As long as you like.
Make sure breakfast is ready.
So anyway, that was my little speech because I felt the need to really emphasize the point that people should come here, and even if modern and contemporary art feels intimidating, or if it feels like something that you need a master's degree to understand, you don't. It's just a place for conversation. It's just a place for you to relate to other people. That's it.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I can get one. Y'all was solid, though. That's tough to follow up with. What's somebody supposed to say to that? But fortunately, my story is mine. So, I'm good. I don't come from artistic people. I did not go to an art school. And I don't know how the hell I got here, to be honest with you.
Me either. We in the same boat.
And to think that I've made
such good work in a short period of time. I really do feel like, just to piggyback off, you said anything's possible. No, I haven't seen anybody I went to elementary school with in over 10 years. I haven't seen anybody I went to middle school with. My environment's different. So, like, you can, like, really make your own route, so to speak. I mean, like, if you want to make a 90-degree turn on a 90-mile-per-hour highway exit, you know, life-wise, you can, without hitting a wall. And if you do, that's part of what's supposed to happen. You're supposed to hit a wall. And everything's not supposed to be pretty. And everything's not supposed to sound good. And sometimes you got to do things alone. And you're the only one that believes in what you're doing. And that's fine. And that's my story.
Wait. I need some advice because I keep seeing people I went to school with and I'm tired. So tell me where you go to get away from them people.
And they all move into
I'm not far enough. I'm not far enough. I got a lot more work to do, Brother Trap. A lot more work. Because they be in the corner store. Hey, y'all, what you been up to? Boy, you do not care.
Marie has a question.
Oh, she was time checking it. Okay, yes. Y'all want to go ahead and respond?
I'll be quick. Yeah. To answer your question, this world doesn't move without Black creativity, without Black ingenuity, without Black anything. And I think that it's well past time that we start taking the mic and telling our stories the way they're supposed to be told, carrying the language and translating it in ways that mean something, that permeate out into the world and really have a positive ripple effect. I write stories for myself because for so long I didn't. I shut myself off from writing for 15 years. I used to illustrate and narrate my own comics, write short stories. My mom probably has books of my poems buried somewhere in our house. I write stories because for so long I was told that I shouldn't, that I should be seen and not heard, that my voice doesn't matter, me being visible doesn't matter, I should be likable instead. And I don't really want to do that. I don't care about being likable. I would rather be respected for my intellect, for my love, the way that I deeply care for people, the way that I collaborate with others, the way that I follow, the way that I lead, the way that I show up as a daughter, a sister, a friend, an aunt. I care more about that, and those are the kinds of stories that I want to continue writing and continue telling, although I don't think we really ever need a reason to tell stories. I think they're always there.
I was just thinking also about this, because thinking about the story I'm trying to tell, and I'm like, how do I not inundate these people with all my research and all these random stories and things? But I really think that the story that I'm trying to tell is one that is mine, but it's not. I think a lot about, like, I've really been consumed with the idea of how many people had to survive so that I could live. And that literally in my family, like, people had to survive because at any point, if they didn't, I would not be here. But not just in my family, there's so many people like who had to survive, who had to make it through, who had to persist, who had to agitate, who had to speak up, who had to write, who had to translate for different communities, get people in conversation. I think the story that I'm trying to tell is it's definitely a Black story, but it's a Black story that is filled with so much color. It's a Black story like the sky, like you look up and you see a bunch of stars, you see light even, you see the moon, you see so much depth, and you can travel infinitely in that sky, in that blackness. Or you can go into the ocean and it's so blue that it's black. I'm trying to tell that black story. I'm trying to tell a story of blackness administered by way of passage and experience. I'm trying to talk about my oldest known relative on my father's side, who was a freed slave from the Bahamas, who made a boat by hand and came to Miami. Well, he came to Key West and then moved up to Miami. I'm trying to tell a story about my great-great-great-grandfather, who was a rum runner during Prohibition and got deported left and right, but he came back. I think that Miami is a place especially that, yeah, we think about immigrants, we think about different people coming from different communities, but even beyond that, we're just a place, a home for runaways. We're a safe haven. We're a place filled with color. And so when I'm thinking about the story that I'm trying to tell that story, that South Floridian story, that Miami story, that, I'm sorry, but it's black. And when I say it's black, I mean that it's Afro-Latino, I mean that it's Caribbean, I mean that it's diasporic, it's oceanic, it's American, it's truly American, it's Southern. So I think the story I'm trying to tell is one that has a lot of us in it, yeah.
I'm just saying, when you ask me to do the job, I'm just saying, go ahead, you know, my friend in the back, she know with the cute hat. When you ask me to do a job, I do it.
It's the hair flip for me, as you should.
I would like to close this by saying, for me, as this being one of the biggest programming opportunities that I've had, it was nerve-wracking. I didn't eat today.
Same. We're hungry.
We're so hungry. I know, Trap, I know. But it was a beautiful experience. I was given a lot of freedom. I was given a lot of fluidity. I was listened to. I was supported. And honestly, like, I feel like if I wanted to bring a whole FAMU marching band up in here, they would have been like, Arsenal, you tripping, but okay. Okay. I don't know who's going to pay for this, but okay. So I am very thankful for this opportunity. I am thankful that I could bring in some of the most dynamic people that I've met in my life. You all are amazing. Writers that I truly look up to, that I honor, that I respect, I thank you 1,000 times. Thank you for curating this amazing exhibition. Thank you. Thank you, Marie Vickles and Anita. Listen, Anita, I'm trying to be like you when I grow up, okay? Anita be emailing me from Costa Rica. Every time you email Anita, she is not in the office. She is in Panama with whoever is the mayor. I don't know. But thank you, Anita, for helping me, for being, supportive. Thank you so much. We really moved as a team. And thank you to our tech back there who took the last minute calls. I don't even think they really back there, but that's okay. And I thank you all for coming out. You guys could have been anywhere else, but you chose to be here tonight, and I really, really appreciate that. We all do. Thank you for supporting the arts, for supporting living artists.
Tell them we're closing.
If you guys could just go around and tell us where we can find you on social media.
I have to be perceived. Okay.
Oh, you don't have to. If you don't want nobody to find you, friend, that's fine.
I'm just kidding.
I got a few twerk videos
I'm a Leo
myself.
rising. I love to be seen.
I want my mama to know about all that. Go ahead.
On Instagram at CC Spills Inc. CICI Spills Inc. That's it. That's me.
I'm Sunny like Ray 1, I think. I don't know.
This is where you start rethinking your Instagram handle.
Like, I was trying to be sarcastic.
Keisha Too Blessed, 528 pecan pie.
I'm tagged on all of their Instagrams, so y'all find me.
No DMs. Hi. So my name's Christelle Victoria Roach, and you spell that Christ, E-L-L, like C-H-R-I-S-T, E-L-L.
I can't deal with you. not it's spelled Christ.
No, you gotta get it right. It's not Crystal. I have heard before.
Christ will tell.
So yeah, my Instagram is Christelle Victoria, and I have a website, ChristelleVictoriaRoach.com. That's where you can contact me. Any of my merch, any of that stuff will be on there.
She has beautiful prints. Yes, please, yes. Y'all know y'all can find me, A Murder Money, you know what I'm saying, all day, every day, 305 till I die. Twerk money. Okay, no, I'm Arsimmer McCoy, A-R-S-I-M-M-E-R, McCoy, M-C-C-O-Y. Am I saying it right, Ma? She gets upset at how I say my own name.
That is her name.
We moving forward. I have a lot of trauma. We'll move forward.
All right, you can find me at Maritza Melania, M-A-R-I-T-Z-A, which most people tend to misspell for some strange reason. But more importantly, follow at Pam. That's what you should really do. Follow Pam.
For once, I got the easiest Instagram name. I'm hyped. Okay, so reason why you here, art, right? The thing that all y'all got inside y'all, love, and trap, the situation that we're all in. Art, love, trap, I appreciate y'all. Love.
Darius Daughtry, at Darius Daughtry and DariusDaughtry.com. Also, my organization, Art Prevails Project. You can follow that as well. And you can slide downstairs at the gift shop. I don't know if the gift shop's still open, but come back tomorrow and grab one of those books that I got down there. You know, you can, hook that up. Or, you know, if you don't want to get them from here, just, again, hit my website and grab them books. Buy 15 of them. Cool.
And once again, thank you to the ancestors. And with that being said, good night.
Thank you.
Okay, we are actually closed. The museum is closed. The galleries are closed behind you, but we'd love for you to come back tomorrow, over the weekend, whenever you can. So just everyone, if you can exit down the stairs this way, we appreciate it. Thank you.